Hi everyone, I'm RVindas from Group 2 in FS 575, and my presentation is going to cover the combined analyze and improve phases of my course project, which is to decrease grocery spending. So I'm going to go straight into the discussion on the root cause analysis. So I did use two different tools for that, which were the fishbone diagram and the 5 whys, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to focus on my 5 whys because they both gave me the same result. So again, the problem statement here is that our family is spending too much on groceries for our size, and that's about $7.70 per month or $4.30 per meal per person. So looking at the 5 whys here, you can see that we came up with two root causes which are circled, and they're pretty related. So the first one is that we don't stick to a weekly menu, and the reason for that is typically that we don't have everything that we need at home. And that's because of the inventory that we perform. It's usually either not completed or not done very well. We usually rush through it right before we have to go grocery shopping. So you can see here that the two root causes are no use of a weekly menu and a bad inventory system at home. So I also used FMEA, which is failure mode effects analysis, to look at possible improvements. So I looked at 3 different failure modes. So again, the no or incomplete inventory, the lack of a use of a weekly menu, and also items in our shopping list aren't crossed off once we get them. So sometimes we double up or we miss a few things. So some possible effects of that, again, in order here, we have excess or missing grocery items. We can't identify the true needs that we have, or we have an excess of repeat items. So using our severity, occurrence, and detectability ratings, I'm able to assign each failure mode effect an actual risk priority number, the RPN. So looking at that, you can see that the weekly menu is the one that comes up with the highest RPN of 270 here. And then also the inventory system comes up with a high RPN of 192. So again, the severity ratings are based on financial impact, with 1 being very low and 10 being very high. Occurrence based on how often it occurs. Detectability based on whether we can prevent and correct the failure mode effect before it occurs itself. So you can see here that we're pretty bad off with both of these things, and these are really where we should focus our improvements. And that's what we did. So we did implement a better inventory system at home. We started allowing more time to complete that system before actually going out shopping, or giving ourselves time to actually do that and pay attention instead of just rushing through it. So right now my husband will open up all the cupboards. I'll be right there. I'll write everything down in our shopping list app as he says it, and then we're also tracking it on a dry erase board. So that really helps us because we put it right there in the kitchen. We're able to go right up to it if we see something's missing and just jot it down really quick. We're also using the dry erase board to keep track of our weekly menu. So we implemented these two things at the same time. We're choosing recipes that are really simple. They'll use ingredients that we already have at home. And also just conducting a better inventory is going to help us stick to this. That's why we put it on the same board. It really helps us focus. So you can see an example of that board right here on the screen. So now that we did the improvements, we really need to look at comparing the data from the measure phase to the analyze and improve data. So the goal for this data comparison, per my data comparison plan, is just to determine if those improvements have been effective. So to do that, I am using 3 different tools and a few different metrics. So the first one is an IMR chart. I'm going to update the one from the last presentation with the most current data I have from the weekly grocery expenses. Then looking at the Pareto diagram, I'm going to compare the previous one from the measure phase to one with the updated expenses to see if grocery categories have changed or shifted. So to do that, I'm going to sum up the total dollar amount spent within each category. And then the third one, which is brand new, I'm going to be performing a one-factor ANOVA, and to do that, I'm going to use the sum of the grocery expenses per week to just compare and see if our treatments have had an effect. So going straight into the one-factor ANOVA, I did perform this as part of an assignment that we had a couple of weeks ago in class, and I had 2 treatments. So going straight for the weekly menu, because we didn't implement both improvements at the same time, so really could have chosen either one as a treatment. So the 2 treatments are 1, the use of a weekly menu, or 2, no use of a weekly menu. So at the time of performing the one in class, I only had 3 data points post-improvement, and now as of last week, I was able to get 1 more data point. So I have 4 data points post-improvement, and I used 4 data points pre-improvement. So looking at the null hypothesis, it's that the use of the weekly menu has no effect on the amount spent on groceries per week. And I'm not going to walk you through all of the math, but the most important point here is highlighted in yellow is the F0. It was calculated to be 7.5621. Now using alpha as 0.05, like we typically do in the class, you can see that our critical value is 5.9874 based on an F distribution table. So the rejection criteria for one-factor ANOVA is F0 greater than F0.0516. And so, because 7.5621 is greater than 5.9874, we can reject the null hypothesis. And that means that the use of the weekly menu actually does have an effect on the amount we're spending on groceries per week. And this is great news. So now that I've actually expanded the number of observations by 1 data point, this gave me a different result than what I got in the class assignment. Also, looking at the eye chart gives us encouraging results as well. So, looking here, you can see I've circled that the weeks that I used for data in my ANOVA. So, starting at week 30 to week 37, so we had 4 weeks pre-improvement. That's 30 through 33, and then the improvement started at week 34. So weeks 34 through 37 are post-improvement. And you can see that all of the post-improvement weeks are below the central line. So again, very encouraging, and it's looking like they're trending there right now. Even though it's a small amount of data points, we'll probably need to adjust the control limits because these are the same control limits from the measure phase. The MR chart also shows here. I've only circled the post-improvement, and we are still seeing some variability, so you're seeing some differences in ranges here, but it is sticking around the central line now, so that is encouraging that we're hopefully getting that variability in check. Alright, and so here we have the Pareto diagrams as well. So the top Pareto diagram is from the post-improvement data added. So you can see here that our top 5 categories are meat and seafood, produce, meal subscription boxes, snacks, and dairy and eggs. And that's pretty consistent still with the post improvements, which is the green chart below. So again, meat, produce, meal subscription boxes, dairy and eggs, and then hygiene items. So these categories really haven't changed much at all, and really we're not necessarily focusing that much on the categories at this time. We're looking to see if the weekly menu will help us bring these categories into check, but I'm really interested in keeping track of the categories as well through this Pareto diagram to help us identify possible areas of continuous improvement. So as far as next steps go, you can see the Analyze and Improve phase is complete. We're moving on to the completion of the project, and that involves reviewing our improvement plan progress based on the data that we have, which as of right now is pretty encouraging, but it's only 4 data points, so we really have a lot more work to do to determine if it's effective. Need to determine a good plan for continuous improvement, again using that data from the Pareto diagram to help us identify some categories where we can focus our efforts in the future. And then I'm going to be summarizing the results and the learnings of my project as well coming up. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please comment.